this is where the rubber meets the road as far as like, this is why we should have the right for self-defense. A Decatur, Illinois mom who is at home, 3 intruders come into the home and she defends herself all while holding a baby on her hip, which I mean, I think that's the detail that I read this and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the whole shebang. Like this is wild stuff right here, and wild in that it is quite a wild story, but I am always impressed and inspired by stories like this because I mean, what survival instinct, what mama bear instinct, and it could have been a father, the same with his child, but like this is where the rubber meets the road as far as like this is why we should have the right for self-defense. I mean, besides above and beyond our personal defense of our individual selves, but like you're a mom, you're a father, you're at home with, I think it was a 9 month baby and a 2-year-old
Yeah.
child
5 months.
or 5 month
Five
old
months and a 2-year-old.
and
Yeah.
a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
3 intruders come in and they're armed, and I mean, this is wild style right here. As far as this is what it's all about, protecting those babies.
Yeah. Pretty intense. I have opened the second news story right now, and it doesn't have this detail, but the first one specifies that over 30 shots were fired in this encounter.
Which
I think like 33 or something like that. It's freaking
I
nuts.
don't know how that. Yeah, that is nuts. I
Yeah.
don't know who was firing all those shots.
Well, there's one very specific moment in this particular narrative that I want to focus on. But should we get into this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So you have this woman. She's home with these 2 children. It's not clear if she's a single mom or if her husband's not there. We don't know. But she appears to be in the home, just her and these 2 kids, the 5-month-old and 2-year-old. And armed intruders, plural, break in. Okay. Now she announced her presence and told them she was armed. Something to the effect maybe of, "Hey, I'm armed. Get out of my house." Something like that. We don't, something along those lines. Clearly, in both stories, it made it clear that she announced her presence, and in one of the stories, it specified that she told them she was armed. Now, in that moment, this is the moment that I think is interesting in the narrative. They shot it. They started shooting at her. In this story, it says, caused the suspects to fire upon her. Okay. Now she returns fire, but in this hailstorm of bullets, 30-something shots total fired. She gets shot twice. Once in the arm, left forearm,
Yep.
and once in the right hip. And as it were, that right hip is where she happens to be in the moment, holding the 5-month-old child. So imagine in one hand, I'm holding my 5-month-old child balanced against my hip. And in the left hand, presumably, is the gun. And I'm, working the gun, bang, bang, bang. And I take a shot in the gun arm. The hand that's the one arm that's doing the shooting takes a shot. And it's not clear if she continued to be able to, shoot the gun after that or how bad the injury was. But imagine that's how this works. And we talk about, when we talk about training to shoot one-handed, we talk about a lot of potential justifications for that. In this story, we get 2 justifications for one-handed shooting. One, that the odds of you taking an injury in an arm in a gunfight are real. And that's exactly what happened here.
Yes.
She took a shot in a shooting arm. And we also often talk about, the other hand could be occupied potentially with holding or restraining a child or something like that. And that's exactly what she's doing too. So she had to engage one-handed, and then the one hand she had potentially went down in this fight.
I mean, yeah, it all depends on where that bullet strikes and how much damage it does, whether it cuts any, tendons or breaks bones and things like that. But she obviously gets shots off. We don't know who fired how many or what. What it says here is just that police arrived. It was just after 4 a.m., by the way. So something happened. I guess these guys probably broke in, probably woke up, the 5-month-old, and that's why she's holding the baby, an infant daughter, it says. And, and then she fires. But you mentioned she announced her presence and likely that she was armed or something to that effect. And they started firing almost immediately upon her announcing that she knew they were there. I think that's a really critical detail, really worth paying attention to, because how many people, give you an example of something similar, not exactly the same, but similar thing and a similar purpose. People will talk about like, well, I've got the 12 gauge in the closet and, I'm going to go ching, ching, and let them know, hey, got a shotgun here, and that's going to scare them off. Not necessarily. Plus, What's to keep them from firing, over their shoulder at you while they are running away? And that could have been what happened here. We don't know. The point is like announcing that you're there or where you are or what you have or whatever doesn't serve a purpose in a lot of. I mean, you can issue challenges. You are welcome to do that. It's certainly well within your right, but you need to understand that as soon as you open your mouth or do something, and I do think this is really key in like a home invasion type environment, because it's one thing to maybe try to challenge something outside of the home, but you're in your home, you're in your domain, you know your home better than anybody else. You should know where you can take up cover, and you should do that. And then you probably don't want to advertise your position if you can help it, right?
I got mixed feelings on that.
Well,
I don't
go
know if
ahead.
I'm totally in agreement. One other detail that's relevant here, by the way, is it says that in addition to the shots that were fired from within the house, there were also shots fired into the bedroom through the bedroom window from outside the house. Not sure if that's a different a different attacker or the same attackers that were in the house as they ran away. Maybe they shot some more shots, into the house from outside. It's not clear. But the point is, this was not like she's got a gun, bang bang, let's run. Like, this was like a prolonged gunfight. There's over 30 shots fired in the house. So, but anyway, I guess come back to your comment. I don't think I am inherently against the idea of making an announcement.
I'm not saying I'm totally against it,
I think
but
that
advising that
taking up cover is the key thing you said, and I think
Excuse
I'm certainly on board with that. Right, this idea of like, hey, I'm gonna seek a position of strength and a position of cover, and I'm gonna say, hey, I got my 2-year-old, he's right there. I got my 5-month-old, he's right here. I'm gonna take this position of cover, where I'm in a position of strength. Maybe I'm putting a fatal funnel. Maybe there's a hallway or stairs or something between me and where I hear all these sounds coming from, and I'm going to grab my phone. I'm going to start working the 911, and I'm waiting and I'm looking. And at some point, me making an announcement, I don't see an issue with that. That doesn't bother me at all.
Okay, so I disagree with you saying I don't see an issue with that, because I think it's situationally dependent, and you need to understand the situation you're in as best as you can. I think I would advise caution about some of what you just said, and just because of I think this is a fine example of the risk that you take there. If I know, okay, so here's the thing. If I know I have intruders, if I know where or about where they are, if I have reasonable belief that they might cause harm to me of any sort, okay, which is a requirement in certain states, like here in Colorado. It's a fairly low standard, but like, I have intruders. I believe they might harm me. Okay, got to meet those conditions. If I have the opportunity to engage them, by golly, I want to ambush the heck out of them. That's my feel. I'm not saying you can't challenge or issue commands. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I am saying that you should probably read the situation and make the best decision that you can. And that if I issue a command, that might provide the opportunity for them to engage me first. And then I'm behind the power curve again.
Yeah, I guess this might be the second or third time you and I just blatantly disagree.
Okay.
So I disagree. I think that the statistical probability is that by making the announcement, I will diffuse the situation and that they will leave. And so if I know that I got my family isolated, we're in in a protected space, and I put there's some amount of distance between me and the attacker, and I'm in a position of strength and cover, then yeah,
but here's the thing.
I'm good.
What do you have in your home that's actually significant cover?
Okay, so now we got into cover. Okay, this is fair. This is super fair. But I did use the word cover, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay, so our industry at large loves to draw a hard line between cover and concealment. I don't like it. I don't do that. I think it's silly, in fact. So let's just hash that out as briefly as I can. So traditionally, we think of cover as something that for sure or reasonably so will stop oncoming bullets, and concealment is something that reasonably will not stop oncoming bullets. The problem is it's a range. It's not like a black and white thing. Some things are semi good at stopping bullets or might deflect bullets a little bit, etc. And that's only a conversation about the actual ballistic value of the thing I'm putting between me and the oncoming bullets. It's not about the tactical value of what I'm putting between me and the oncoming bullets. So yeah, it's true that in the house, probably the only thing that every American has that's going to stop bullets is a water heater full of water. There's other things. Maybe you got a bookcase. Maybe you got a filing cabinet. There's a hand. There's other potential things. But that said, there are things that are maybe not ideal cover, but they are somewhat cover. They're a certain form or type of what I might deem an acceptable cover in some circumstances. And certainly if they conceal me, I consider that valuable.
Concealment is hugely valuable.
Yeah.
It is rare that we see somebody try to engage another person through cover or through concealment. But here's the problem with this, though, is you have 3 intruders, possibly all 3 of them are armed. Seems reasonable since there's so many bullet holes.
We actually get a lot of details about this.
Yeah.
The 16-year-old gave the gun to the 20-year-old. The 20-year-old gave their gun to the 24-year-old. So at least there's at least 2 guns involved.
Yeah. So at least, yeah, that's right. There's at least the 2 guns. 30 bullet holes. It says the house is riddled with bullet holes. They don't care about aimed fire.
They don't care about cover and concealment.
They don't care.
They're probably not even looking at what they're shooting at.
They're just blasting away, and so at that point, the argument of, well, I've got reasonable cover, whatever that is, or concealment, and that I'm reasonably protected it kind of, I think, goes out the window a little bit in most American residential homes due to the fact there's just not a whole lot stopping bullets in a house. So
I think you got to think about your context. Like I think that we pre-plan some of these things, and other times we're kind of caught off guard, right? Like it's 3 dudes breaking into my house, and I'm in my family room watching TV. I'm going to have a challenge putting myself in a position of strength and decent cover. So before I could make an announcement, but I'm upstairs in my 2-story home, and I hear some noises, and I put myself in a position of strength at the top of the stairwell / entryway. Yeah. I think I do have good opportunity there.
Let me give you kind of here's the Riley brain part of this. I'll paint a scenario for you. If I was concealed, right? Whether just because of darkness, I mean, hopefully I've got myself, in a doorway or something, and I'm minimizing my exposure or whatever that is. But if I could see these intruders, and I get the sense they know that I'm not, or they don't know I'm there, right? Like they're just doing their thing. They're ransacking the place. They're grabbing, my laptop off the table or whatever. Like they're in the business of robbing my house. But I can see them, and I'm like, I'm positioned. I have reasonable cover. I've got my gun ready for use. I might in that moment go, stop right, or not necessarily stop, or maybe I'll say stop. I don't know. Get out of the house. I'll shoot, kind of thing. Whatever. Just imagine the scenario, but I might issue a challenge command if I'm right there ready to immediately follow it up with force should they turn to try to address me.
Sounds like a great time for an announcement.
Okay, that's a situation where that might be appropriate, but there's other times where I may not want to reveal myself.
And I didn't say I would universally. I said that I don't see any issue with it as a concept, as a theory.
Okay, I didn't say it.
And I think that
I said it should be. We should be wise in our use of it.
Okay, sure. But I don't think that we can condemn it in the story we're reading.
Not condemning it.
I think we have to acknowledge that this is an outlier, not to suggest that it's rare, like it's never happened. Oh my gosh, holy crap, she made an announcement and they attacked. No, we've seen that many times. But I do think we also have to acknowledge that a lot of the time, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think more than half of the time, an announcement does diffuse the situation. It causes the bad guys to say, "Oh, bummer. We thought we had the drop. We thought that this house was empty, or we thought these people were asleep. Turns out they're not. They say they have a gun. Let's bail."
Let me see if I can put a stamp on this in a manner that sort of brings us to a little more of a consensus.
Balance.
And I love the fact that we're even having the debate, because that's what this is all about. You and I are of 2 different minds in many respects. We agree on a lot of things. Here's what I would say. If you're going to issue a challenge command, do it with the understanding that you need to be prepared for action immediately.
Yeah, super.
If you're not ready, then that's where you're just going to get in trouble. Like if you think that announcing yourself or challenging them or chink with your shotgun when you're not actually ready, like you think you just blindly believe they're going to automatically skedaddle, then I think you're setting yourself up for failure.
Agreed, 100%.
All right.
I'm remembering, in fact, one quick one. Do you remember the story? This is a couple of years ago. This dude has a bunker in it underneath his house, and his house is for sale. And Zillow puts pictures of this thing all over Instagram and Twitter. It's like the Zillow featured, like, look at this house with this survival bunker. And some whack job dude who thinks that Russia is going to nuke America in the upcoming days, breaks in order to like take over the bunker.
Yeah.
And there was no world where that dude was going to like, oh, someone's home, I'm going to run away now. He was like, no, I'm going to slaughter everyone in this house and I'm going to go live in that bunker.
Yep.
And I'm going to survive the upcoming nuclear holocaust.
Yep.
So yes, like I think that we have to remember that some of these people are serious.
Yes.
And taking a position of strength, I'll just summarize it that way, being prepared for action is a critical part of any home defense strategy when able to do. So yes, I think we've reconciled our differences sufficiently for